Shapers are versatile machines which can be configured in multiple ways to shape material. In this video, we will explore the most common operations, including rabbeting, edge shaping, end shaping, and shaping curved parts. A rabbet is one of the most basic cuts and is commonly machined on a shaper. With this cut, the fence faces will be in the same plane. Setting up to cut a rabbet requires selecting the proper tooling. Depending on the dimensions of the rabbet, solid carbide, small diameter heads, such as this 3/4 inch bore cutter, can be used. Insert heads often include spur knives, which will make for a cleaner cut and less tear out. In either case, the cutter must be mounted properly on the spindle and the fences aligned and set to take the proper depth of cut. The cutter head can either be above or below the stock. Located below, it is safer for the operator. Located above, the resulting tongue will be uniform in thickness regardless of the material variations. With the cutter installed, adjust the fence to the proper depth of the rabbet. Set the height of the cutter using a sample piece or measuring device. Digital gauges are useful for providing more precise measurements. Once the adjustments are made, close the fence opening to within 1/4 inch of the cutter. Double check that all knobs have been properly tightened. When you are certain there is no risk of collision with the fence or any guards, you are ready to test the cutter. You will need to remove the lockout-tagout device to verify the cutter is safely secured. Use a shield to protect you from the point of operation. Test by turning the cutter on and off quickly to confirm the spindle is rotating in the correct direction. Now turn the machine on and let it come up to speed for 5 seconds. This will test the cutter to see if it has damaged carbide or loose inserts. If the machine has no undue vibration and you are comfortable there is no risk, proceed with shaping a test piece to verify the dimensions. Use a caliper to check that the tolerances are met. Profiles are a bit more challenging than a simple rabbet. The stock must exit the cutter with the material tangent to the fence. This requires careful setup. In this example, we will shape a bead on the edge of the stock. Align the fence so that it is slightly behind the top dead center of the beading cutter. We will feed the stock partially past the cutter, turning off the machine and waiting for the cutter to come to a complete stop before removing the material. When the cutter comes to a complete stop, lock out the machine and adjust the outfeed fence so it is tangent to or just touching the bead. Remove the material. Using a straight edge, adjust the infeed so that it is in the same plane as the outfeed. Check that the cutter does not collide with the fence and that the opening between the cutter and the fence does not exceed 1/4 inch. You should now be able to run a sample. If your workpiece exhibits snipe at the end of the piece, the entire fence must move forward. If the bead on your workpiece has a flat on it, the fence is too far forward and must be moved back. With a fixed fence, try adjusting it by loosening one of the 2 bolts which hold the fence in place and carefully pivoting the fence. Because it is a rotary cutter, it is not necessary for the fence to remain parallel to the front edge of the machine. Remember, adjustments should only be made with the machine locked out. End shaping might consist of a simple rabbet, coping the ends of a door rail, or tenon large stock such as this window material. If the stock is narrow in width, meaning less than 12 inches, a jig should be used to hold the material steady and prevent it from getting drawn into the cutter. While sliding tables are ideal for end shaping, this may not be an option on your machine. If this is the case, use a jig. Whether you are using a jig or a sliding table, the stock must be firmly secured. The cutter exerts significant force on the stock, and when unsupported by the fence, as is the case with narrow pieces, it can be drawn into the cutter, potentially causing damage and endangering the operator. The setup is similar to edge shaping. If a fence is not being used, a stop of some sort is necessary to locate the stock. This will help avoid taking too deep of a cut, which could be hazardous. Perhaps most important with end shaping is the use of a backer block to prevent tear out. Even with a new cutter, unsupported stock will be left with poor surface quality. Unless the torn edge is going to be removed by profiling, a backer block should be used. This must also be secured in place so it is not drawn into the cutter head during the operation. Curved parts require careful planning and preparation to shape safely. Oftentimes, templates or jigs are used to guide the cutter and support the stock. Bearings are frequently used with cutters. When mounting a bearing on a spindle, make sure pressure is only applied to the inner raceway so it turns freely from the cutter when the spindle is tightened. Washers or thin spacers should be placed above and below the bearing. The operator must use extreme caution when shaping curved stock and take measures to guard the point of operation. Designing jigs and fixtures which function simply and accurately for repeat cuts is the sign of an accomplished woodworker. It is a good practice to make the jig larger than the workpiece. This allows room for the jig to reach the bearing before the cutter engages the stock, helping the operator to steady the fixture and reduce the chance of a kickback. Pay attention to how the operator will hold the jig. Handles can be added if needed. Always ensure hands are kept a minimum of 4 to 6 inches away from the cutter. If you use a shield, it should be made of polycarbonate and be securely mounted. When shaping solid wood, pay attention to the grain direction. Tear out can easily occur when shaping against the grain. Twin head shapers were designed to avoid this. If you don't have this option, you might be able to flip the cutter if you have a machine which rotates in reverse. This works if your profile is symmetrical, such as this bead. Another option is to flip the stock so you are always shaping downhill with the grain. This video showcased the most common shaping operations. In the next video, we will discuss setting up a stock feeder.